South Korea's National Intelligence Service says North Korea is likely to be planning terror attacks against the South at the order of leader Kim Jong-un. As President Barack Obama signed a U.S. sanctions bill on North Korea, the United Nations is also drafting tough sanctions on the regime. And KBS reports on internal documents suggesting Pyongyang agreed to open the Kaesong industrial complex with its eventual shutdown and asset freeze in mind from the beginning. Hello and welcome to News Today on KBS World. It's Friday, February 19th. I'm Luke Clary. South Korea's National Intelligence Service says that North Korea is likely to be planning terror attacks against the South, employing cyber terrorism or terror attacks through the use of drones. It also reports that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has ordered his officials to bring together all capacities for anti-South terrorism activities. Here's more.
The National Intelligence Service, or NIS, reported at a security meeting of party and government officials that amid the rising tension between the two Koreas, it is highly likely that North Korea would initiate terror attacks. The NIS added that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un recently ordered his officials to unite the capacities for anti-South terror attacks, especially in the cyber front. According to the NIS, the North Korean intelligence authorities have already started preparing for terrorist provocations. North Korea's #1 terror tactic would be cyber hacking. The NIS said the North may hack into the systems at South Korean airports, railways, and public facilities and cause major disasters such as airplane collisions.
사이버 테러에 대해서 우려를 하는 그런 보고를 해왔는데 발전소 등 국가 기관 시설이 타깃이 될 수 있다.
There is a possibility that North Korea may use drones to launch terror attacks so that it would be impossible to know who or how the attacks were carried out. The NIS reported that North Korea may even recruit foreigners with ties to the IS or homegrown terrorists to attempt attacking soft public targets.
Since the official announcement of talks between Seoul and Washington on the THAAD missile defense system's deployment in Korea, Beijing has strongly voiced its opposition. The South Korean government has drawn the line, saying it will decide on the issue autonomously.
Seoul and Washington are just a step away from establishing a joint working-level team to discuss the deployment of the THAAD missile defense system. The two nations will sign an agreement on the formation of a working-level team and shortly afterwards launch negotiations on where and when to deploy the system, as well as on the required costs. The joint team will propose candidate sites for THAAD deployment. The final sites will be chosen after the South Korean and U.S. governments give their approval. Meanwhile, China has stepped up its demands that the THAAD deployment discussions be suspended. However, Seoul says that the deployment of the missile defense system will in no way affect China's national security, as the surveillance bandwidth of the X-band radar is to be reduced significantly. Seoul effectively rejected Beijing's request by saying that it will exercise its autonomy in deciding whether or not to deploy the THAAD missile defense system to protect its public from North Korea's nuclear threat.
U.S. President Barack Obama has signed a sanctions bill on North Korea. Deputy Secretary of State Tony Blinken said that the United Nations is pulling out all of its resources to draw up the toughest resolution ever on North Korea and urged China for its full participation.
U.S. President Barack Obama officially signed an anti-North Korea sanctions bill that was recently approved by Congress. This is the first official enactment of a sanctions law that targets only North Korea. Helmed by Ed Royce, chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee at the U.S. House of Representatives, this law is considered the most powerful and comprehensive set of sanctions to pressure North Korea's financial resources from all sides. Meanwhile, the United Nations is also stepping up its effort to draw up a tough resolution on North Korea. Deputy Secretary of State Tony Blinken, who took part in a high-level strategic meeting with South Korean officials, stressed in an interview with PBS that the UN resolution against the North would contain very powerful sanctions.
That they will come around to a strong Security Council resolution. Whether that will be enough in the actions that it prescribes to move North Korea.
He said that China has the leverage to squeeze North Korea from many sides and called for Beijing's full participation. He added that if China does not take part in the international sanctions, the U.S. would pressure the North on its own, claiming that the discussions on the placement of the Terminal High-Altitude Air Defense System between Seoul and Washington are part of that direct pressure.
KBS TV has obtained internal documents suggesting that Pyongyang was operating the inter-Korean Kaesong industrial complex with its eventual shutdown and asset freeze in mind from the very beginning. Here's more.
In 2006, 2 years after the launch of the Kaesong industrial complex, this so-called business plan was drafted by North Korea's Workers' Party, which was managing the North Korean workers. The document defines the Kaesong Industrial Park not as a zone of inter-Korean economic cooperation, but a venue of a fierce class strife, and calls the South an enemy. The document says that the party members must quickly acquire South Korean state-of-the-art technologies. It stresses the importance of learning how to skillfully use the equipment and materials at the industrial complex so that the North can operate on its own as soon as possible. The document points to the possibility that Pyongyang had operated the Kaesong industrial complex with the possibility of its shutdown and freezing of its assets in mind ever since its construction was just completed and operations were about to begin. Written in the form of a memoir, the document describes the Kaesong industrial complex as an outpost of a battle with the enemy and calls for stepping up the fight.
Diapers and baby formula are the most popular items on social commerce sites for their low price and quick delivery. Competition is heating up as large supermarket franchises have marked down the prices of these items to the lowest level ever. Let's take a look.
Korea's largest supermarket chain, E-Mart, has declared a price war against online shopping malls. The first markdowns are baby diapers, which are priced up to 15% cheaper than at online sites.
그동안 인터넷에서 사서 저렴하게 사서 썼는데요. 이제 대형마트에서 싸게 판다고 하면은 이제 대형마트에 와서 이제 금방금방 저렴하게 사서 쓰면 좋을 것 같아요.
Another supermarket franchise, Lotte Mart, has joined the fray, lowering the prices of baby formulas. The two rival retail giants have fallen in step with each other in their competition against online shopping malls. These large supermarkets have targeted baby products, which are the flagship goods sold at social commerce sites. Last year, these physical retail chains saw their diaper sales fall more than 20%, while online retailer Coupang's diaper sales doubled. The supermarket franchises are planning to engage in a fiercer price war with social commerce sites by discounting more products to the lowest prices possible.
The value of used machinery in Korea is estimated to surpass $8 billion, but exports remain sluggish due to the economic recession and competition with Japanese and Chinese companies. Several small firms have been trying to increase their exports of used machinery overseas through collaborative efforts.
This used machinery is to be exported to Vietnam. Exports of used machinery to Southeast Asia have been on the rise as more and more Korean firms are advancing into the Vietnamese market. Korean businesses with a presence abroad prefer used domestic machinery because of its good quality and condition and because they are accustomed to it.
최소한도 판매하고 2, 3개월 내에 그 고장 나는 그 AS 부분 저희가 다 무상으로 처리를 하고요.
But overall exports of used machinery remain at $500 million due to the global economic recession. It's because relatively small distributors in Korea lack systematic control of machinery exports. To overcome this hurdle, several small firms that export used machinery have joined hands to unearth new export channels. Last month, they opened their first office in Vietnam to survey the local market, promote Korean used machinery, and attend to after-sales services.
교두부 역할을 AS만 구축, 그리고 숙소 제공, 그리고 통역 이런 거를 해주면서 2017년도에는 우리가 기계 유통단지를
Policy support from the government, such as regular trade fairs on used machinery, are also needed to lure overseas buyers.
Hanok, or traditional Korean housing, conjures up the image of preserving tradition. But these days, many people fix and convert Hanok homes into more modern housing or work areas.
The sun has set in this alley where a traditional Korean house or Hanok-style guest house is located. The front yard looks even cozier. This guest house is especially popular among foreign tourists as they experience living in a hanok and also enjoy traditional Korean food.
I like the ondo, I like the atmosphere. I don't know. I like how quiet it is too.
There are over 2,000 hanok-style guest houses in the capital, Seoul, alone. Stepping into this hanok home and behind the front gate, we find a photo exhibition parlor. The black and white photos and the wooden frames blend together nicely.
특별한 공간으로 생각을 해주고 주저없이 와서 놀고 가고.
Old hanok houses are getting a makeover these days. Improved methods for assembling timber also help reduce construction costs and building time. Thanks to the rising popularity of hanok residences reborn in modern architectural style, an exhibition introducing hanok housing was held for the very first time. Works by master wood craftsmen are displayed and a ceremony is held to mark the raising of a ridgepole at a hanok home. There are more than 10,000 hanok homes in Seoul alone. They are increasingly transforming themselves from cultural landmarks into day-to-day living spaces for modern Koreans.
Pianist Son Yeoreum will perform in Korea for the first time in 3 years. Her nationwide tour is already drawing a lot of attention. This and more in our Culture News Roundup.
Pianist Son Yeoreum is a critically acclaimed musician, lauded for her mesmerizing and bold performances. She's greeting Korean audiences through a nationwide tour for the first time in 3 years since her last concert in 2013. In the upcoming concert, titled Modern Times, she will showcase piano pieces composed in the early 20th century, including La Valse by French composer Maurice Ravel. The Yeonhee-dan Street Theater troupe started out in a tiny theater in Busan and has contributed to expanding the domestic theater scene over the past 30 years. The troupe will hold a congratulatory performance marking the 30th anniversary of its founding. The first play of their performance run will be The Man Scratching the Floor, directed by Lee Yoon-taek. The satirical play is about 4 men living in a shabby room. By portraying their extreme laziness, the play aims to lampoon the labor obsessiveness of Korean society. These are traditional Korean silk shrouds exhibiting a range of beautiful colors. The exquisite pieces were created by Dankuk University's Korean Traditional Costume Institute based on historical evidence of excavated Joseon Dynasty attire. A total of 52 traditional silk shrouds are on display in an exhibition. The garments were recreated after close study of Joseon-era decorum and norms stipulated in a Joseon Dynasty book defining 5 ceremonial formalities.
There are many foods out there that have medicinal properties and can help boost your health when used properly. Here's more on how to manage your health enjoying delicious and healthy foods. Eating the right food on a regular basis is essential to staying healthy during the coldest time of the year. Rice, an everyday staple in Korean cuisine, can also be cooked in various ways according to your health needs. You can cook healthful dishes at home using easy-to-find ingredients.
몸에 좋고 만들기 쉬운 약속 요리를 오늘 소개해드리겠습니다.
One healthy dish to enjoy in the winter is rice cooked with dried wolfberries and jujubes. First, soak the dried wolfberries in water, which you will use later to cook the rice. Make sure to soak them in cold water to tone down their astringent flavor.
고기다 베타인 성분 같은 경우에는 간 기능을 활성화시켜주고 소화를 돕고 위장을 건강하게 해주죠.
Then add the jujubes, which help improve blood circulation by keeping the body warm.
1인분에 2개나 이 정도 넣으신다고 생각하시면 돼요. 왜냐하면 대추가 너무 많이 들어가면 들큰해서 반찬이랑 먹는 밥으로는 적합하지 않죠.
Add the wolfberry water to soaked rice. To enhance the flavor, add some kelp. When the water starts boiling, lower the heat and add pine nuts to make the rice more savory. Pine nuts are also known to have an excellent skin moisturizing effect. Let the rice simmer for about 10 minutes, and now the delicious wolfberry and jujube rice is ready. The main ingredient in the next healthful dish is burdock.
안토시아닌과 같은 항산화 성분들이 들어있기 때문에 노화를 예방하고 면역력을 증강시켜주면서 만성 피로를 풀어주는 효과도 있습니다.
First, slice the burdock and soaked shiitake mushrooms. Stir-fry them with some perilla oil until they become nice and tender. Then, pour in the water the mushrooms were soaked in until all the ingredients become submerged. Add some kelp and boil everything together. When the ingredients are boiled down, add some perilla extract and boil for a little longer. Rich in fiber, burdock is especially good to eat in winter, when it's usually pretty easy to gain weight. By eating healthful and delicious foods that help boost the immune system, you can stay healthy throughout the long, cold winter. And now we'll take a look at the markets, followed by the world weather. And that's it for this edition of News Today. Thanks so much for being with us. We'll see you again on Monday. Have a great weekend. Goodbye.